We're back, guys. SBENU Starcraft Star League Season 3 here. We got some sick music this time around. I'm really enjoying it, Wolf.
Oh, me too. Really does build the tension here. Now, the two players we have coming up next, one of them is a legend in StarCraft 2. He's got a nickname for his winnings at IEM, where he won 100 grand in an winner-takes-all tournament, the only tournament of its like that's existed in StarCraft 2. His opponent is sOs, a player who was very famous for this matchup in the early stages of Pro League last year, but has since been able to, or rather, since been unable to deliver on where he was once in the past.
I mean, you look at this guy's record in Pro League for the 2014 season and the 2015 season, not even taking a look at individual leagues, okay? He did much better in 2014 as well. Here, he's like something like 1-11 right now. It's something insane. It's something the likes of what we saw at a departure from Brian last season. It's really insane to see how far this guy has fallen.
Well, it's like we're seeing Guilty fielded in Pro League more than we're seeing this guy fielded in recent times, because the guy is just not performing. He's not winning. He's not showing up. Moonglade has brought this up several times. It's a really good point. He plays a lot of online tournaments. He stays up all night. His condition for Korean tournaments is not very good. He does well overseas. And this is another of those things where it's like, for this player, clearly the focus is somewhere else. Maybe he really just wants to be one of those. He wants to be a Hydra, or he wants to be a Polt. He wants to be the one who's in the fans' spotlight and doing well in front of the foreigners.
Not to say something too out of the winds here, but like, imagine, Hydra. He's here in Pro League. He's doing not so well. He goes over there. He wins every single tournament. We got a guy like sOs over here doing terribly in Pro League. He goes abroad. He gets like top 4. It seems to be a bit of a pattern.
Sure.
Wolf, I don't know. But going up against SOS here, I think he's, this is just one of the hardest opponents he could have hit, in fact, especially for the state of the game here in ZVP. Well, this is just not who he wants to face.
Exactly. That is the most important thing, I feel. SOS is a great player. He's very inconsistent outside of best of ones, even though he just got an all kill recently. He looks exhausted today as well, actually. But the guy is talented, and the meta is not preserved right now. So sOs here, just having to watch and console his teammate getting destroyed 3-0. Let's look at some of his career results. He got to the round of 8 in Season 1 of Code S. That's pretty impressive, and that's pretty recent. That was Season 1. Made it to Code S in Season 2. Did one of those IEMs he did decently well, and I couldn't read exactly all of those stats on there. Some of them are in Korean, of course. I know you guys couldn't read them either. I'm sorry I couldn't read them off for you, but you see his Star League results pretty weak so far.
Yeah. Over here at the Next-Gen Arena, he's not having the best games. We'll just say that. Maybe it's something about the atmosphere over here. It's a very pressured situation, a very big arena. Sure. You're in those boots. It's kind of hard to deal, especially when you got your team on your back.
Well, looking at our banned maps here, Iron Fortress gets banned from SOS. I'm a bit surprised we don't see more bans on that map, because that's a GSL map that's, I think, for the first time being used in Star League. It's never been used in Pro League.
Second time?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, for the first time it's being used in this arena was Star League. It was not used in the original season, and it's never been used in Pro League. One of my least favorite maps, to be totally honest. But Deadwing gets eliminated for sOs. Nope, Zerg wants to play against Pross on that map right now. But you can't ban Deadwing and Cactus Valley, so you pick your poison. Luckily for sOs, Cactus Valley ends up being set 4. Expedition Lost, unfortunately, though, is going to be set 5. Now, I'm thinking we're going to see some gold-based shenanigans in this series, though, from sOs. I think it's necessary.
I wouldn't be surprised. Go to set 3, go to Vonnie Research Station. Would love to see it. We've seen him before out of this guy. Hasn't had the most success, but talking about who he's going up against, SOS, a super tricky Protoss player. We're going into two-player maps, rather. Wouldn't be surprised to see this guy throw sOs a couple of curveballs, even in the beginning of the series. Let's jump into it right now on Echo. Down here in the bottom right in the blue, our Protoss player from the generic Green Wings, it is SOS.
$, oh $. He's got a face on a plane.
He's also got that patch that Maru has.
Yeah.
Small man. Short man.
Short man, rather, yeah. And now here up here in the top left in red, Solar not looking very confident today. And again, just watching his teammate be obliterated. Let's talk about, unless like something crazy happens early on here, because we do see that early Forge placement. Let's talk about this idea of players traveling to abroad and dominating WCS in America. Well, just WCS in general, as now Europe and America are merged. If you look at a player like Polt and Hydra, both players were at a time decent in Korea. Like at their peak, were like one of the best players for the race. Polt won the Super Tournament. He won a few titles in Korea, like smaller tournaments here and there. He was always really highly regarded as a top-level Code S player. And when you look at Hydra, if you look at his Pro League results, you're like, well, God, yeah, at the end of Pro League last year, he was looking pretty good. He was one of those players coming in for CJ as CJ became one of the stronger teams. But if you look at his results in Brood War, that's when you go, oh, God, yeah, Hydra was actually one of the better Zergs. Like, he was really, really good. But what skills that Polt and Hydra have that most other... Oh, I'm going to see a fake cannon here. SOS loves to do this. But it's fake, so I can keep telling my story.
Yeah. We'll see how bad or how harshly Solar reacts to this. Not so much.
Yeah, not really. Just a few drones. But when you look at the skills that Solar and Hydra have that are different than other players that remain in Korea, is one skill that's really important is their English-speaking ability. Getting a visa to play as a pro gamer is very difficult, and you are interviewed, for example. You see a player like Violet as well, very good. These players really have given it their all to study English and travel abroad, and that's a really different skill. And I feel like a lot of people are really critical of the skill level of the Koreans that live overseas, but they have focused so much of their lives and so much effort to live abroad. That's one thing they care about more than anything else. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you compare what they do to someone that's on a KESPA team, perhaps. You think about the Korean kids, they sit in the team house and they play this game for 14 hours a day. They're putting in all their time and effort on StarCraft. Whereas, like you said, some other players are doing other things, and maybe they're talking to foreign teams. Maybe they're trying to learn their English, get better at different things that aren't necessarily StarCraft 14 hours a day. So it's actually a really good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, realistically, skill-wise, the Koreans that perform overseas could not usually, with few exceptions, come back to Korea and do well, but they have other skills and they're very marketable and people love them, myself included. So, but back onto this game, it's a very normal opening, a fake cannon, Zealots coming out to pressure. We have this core finishing up here. We do see a Stalker coming out as well, and he has cut the Mothership core out of this entirely, so we're likely to see a tech fall up here. Could even be robotics. Actually, make a second Stalker. That's interesting.
Yeah, he really wants to put on the pressure here onto Solar. It looked like that way even from the beginning, just the gateway opening. He's not a person to do this. The second I saw that pylon going down at the low ground and then put down a gateway, I was very shocked. I'm like, he's the guy who does the forges nearly all the time.
Yeah, actually, you make a good point. I was just thinking in my head, like I was telling my story, and it's going to be gateway, but he would never do Nexus after the gateway. This early gateway is basically a gateway rush in order to do damage with these early units. Without the Mothership core, obviously it's difficult, but without speed, you're gonna lose wings. If your queens get too excited over there, you're gonna lose as well. The Zealot is definitely way too overextended. He's actually gonna go down, no problem.
But seems he was microing in his main. In fact, and that Ling got into the main base and saw the Stargate.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big deal, and the Stalker gets chased back. If you could have two Stalkers over there, it's a lot stronger, but he wanted to try to deny scouting, and it didn't work out. This Overlord is going to come over here to try to see if it's a Phoenix or an Oracle coming out, and will actually, I believe, just barely not see it. We're not getting a shot of it. I'm going to look at my computer because I can do these things. Hold on.
You can do these things, Wolf.
Yep, he saw the Oracle. Barely.
Wow.
Barely.
And he's got those spores coming out right on time.
I've been doing a bit of this last time I moved in cast together. I talked about it a bit. You guys a bit more like sort of idea of how the Korean cast works versus the English cast. No Korean cast of any esport ever has an observing PC, so everything they do is based on what the observer shows them, although there isn't obviously an interaction between the observer and the Korean commentaries because the observer hears what they're saying. So if like, I don't know if he saw it or not, then he can just check.
Yeah, and then they're like, you saw it.
So these Spores up just in time, and that Oracle doesn't even get a single kill so far. Quick +1 and a third base. I think we're going to start to see this Blink +2 from SOS.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised. The build that he went for was kind of low on gas to start things off. You know, making a lot of stalkers. Had to put some into there as well. So it's going to be a bit delayed. He doesn't have that many sentries to start things off, but he will. Oh, look at this. Sad Shine watching his brother in arms play up against another very strong player.
Yeah, this is tough times for Samsung today. I'm going to go ahead and kill that cooling tower to help protect his base. And we do see the robotics. That's why they count. Oh, those stalkers are dead unless he uses a recall for them, which I think would be worth it. Although, the cannon alone, is that going to be enough? Well, he's not going to save it. Thing is, if that base doesn't finish, he can't use a Nexus cannon. Still, with 2 Zealots here and a cannon, I think he should be fine. Oracle's coming home?
Yeah, the Oracle coming home is going to help out so much. That's actually going to force Solar back. And think about the amount of damage that did right there. It killed 1 Zealot and 2 Stalkers, and he lost so many possible drones. Put on a lot of aggression here. We're seeing a Baneling nest here against Protoss. Not sure what the idea is behind this.
And an Infestation Pit very early on, and a Spire. Okay. He's got all the dens here. Hydralisk Den, where is it? Come on, where's the other lair building? He's going to research that lurker aspect of the lurker. No, I don't know. So, Oracle's still continuing to scout here, and scouting the Spire is important, but he's not going to stop there. He wants to check every possible nook and cranny, especially the crannies.
Why is that?
Because Zergs like to hide their stuff in crannies.
Oh.
They're not really big on hiding in the nooks. More about the crannies.
I'm glad you let me know about that. I actually didn't know.
This is just going to be a Baneling speed all-in. What in the world are we about to watch?
I don't think this is going to work.
Well, it's all about force fields. Oh, man, if he doesn't react quickly.
Yeah, this is all about SOS not expecting this to hit. And I don't think he has any idea just yet. He sees a lot of lings, but he's got to be looking.
Okay.
Is he looking? That's the question.
Slow Banelings rolling in.
Oh, man. Oh, that was so close.
What? They're coming over here. Got to warp in more units. If he had speed, I think he definitely would have gotten those sentries. Maybe he thought he did, and he just wasn't paying attention. He was looking at the warp prism that was coming across.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
Right now, SOS is like, whoa!
SOS still has his mouth in the shape of him saying, oh!
Holy cow! Those things do some SBENU splash damage to my units.
Wow. Good advertising, Wolf. I think that is the name of their new line of shoes, in fact, SBENU Splash.
Bailey's and siege tanks and that SBENU splash damage to my units. I hate it.
Oh, this Oracle.
It's like the ad on my Facebook feed. It's like SBENU Splash. SOS hates it. This Oracle barely survives. And we do see 2 upgrades for the Lings now. Infestors are on the way. 1 Mutalisk trying to get the job done. Here come his buddies.
This is such an interesting build from Solar. It seems like he's definitely trying to take a new approach to how to deal with this new age Stalker, Sentry, Force Field, Immortal, Storm kind of build that a lot of Protosses are doing against Zerg these days.
So this has been explored before, right? So I want to talk about this very briefly, as quickly as I can. There was a player called Lowell, at least from Belarus or Russia. He's a European player who's using Banelings exclusively in this matchup to great effect against Sentry-heavy builds in Europe, and actually beat a few Korean players with the strategy. It can definitely work combined with Infestors, and also it's pretty good against all-in timing pushes because it just wipes Zealots. But what we've seen players in the past use this like in the beta of Wings of Liberty. It's like, okay, Banelings pretty much blow up everything. Let's make them until Protoss players realize that if they just have sentries, they just force out the Banelings out and they win the fight. Now, with Infestors, it becomes a little bit more complicated because you can lock the units in place. You can also kill sentries that don't have that many hit points with like 3 fungals and start to go down. But it's definitely not standard. And let's see if SOS can respond to this, because he wasn't around for that experimentation time that we had like back at the beginning of Starcraft 2.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. Already, the response here, he just added one extra Stargate. He's trying to bait in those Phoenixes there, but not quite able to. Able to take out like 4 or 5 or 6 mutas there just with those small amount of Phoenixes.
The guy's name was Lowly, not Lowell. I'm sorry, I got his ID wrong. I just remembered. Anyway,
that's fine.
I'm like just trying to be the right type of historian for you guys. I like gotta get it all my facts straight.
Oh boy, here we go.
Big Ling attack here. 2-2 about to finish that Zealot, the lone commander of that wall. But uh-oh, that's not
over
tight.
here, but 4 cannons, and he's not going to commit to it. It looks like SOS wants to be out on the map and go for an attack, at least shut down that 5th base. He's got a lot of Archons on the way here. +3 is halfway done. He's going to attack before that even finishes. He wants to punish Solar here.
He's scouted a lot. He knows that this army is not ready to defend a big push yet. Infestors are going to try to slow it down, but there's not a lot of static defense. 10 Banelings on the way right underneath this army. Look at that, force fields. That's why we don't see Mass Ling Bane in this matchup in the late game.
All the Banelings rolled into
an Archon?
Yeah, an Archon and some Zealots in the front. And currently they are having absolutely no effect on this fight. The Chargelets are getting to work on the Infestors. Those Fungals are not even getting thrown out. And here comes the giant run by, but there's one Zealot there, and that's going to be enough.
Well, he doesn't warp in anymore. Unfortunately, I guess he uses warp in at the warp prism, but yeah, he should be able to warp in a few +3 Zealots at home to clean this up. And there they are, and even more coming in now. And with the Nexus Cannon as well to help support, this shouldn't be a problem. 2 Immortals here at the front. Sentries are going to get eaten away very quickly. And eventually, with good target fire, he will clean this up with +3. Blinking away. Oh, good transfuse. But it's just Blink Stalkers versus Ultras, even on creep. Can target this really well. He's going to have to blink away. Get that one shot. Oh! That was intense.
Oh boy, that one Ling run by, it didn't do all that much damage, but it forced a gigantic warp in at home, which SOS was not able to use in the fight. It really took away a lot of the pressure there towards the end of that one. He was able to take out the 3rd base of Solar, but he has his 5th base up here.
Yeah, ooh, a Fungal's going to hit these Phoenixes. That's kind of annoying. Actually, a second one will finish 2 of those off. He's going to kill us Infestor, but several Phoenixes lost. That's, oh! Okay. I didn't know my voice could go that high, but the 4th base and the 5th base are actually the reasons why this is somewhat scary for SOS. He's got a good composition, but his Immortal count was reset in that last fight. I really figured he was going to take it, but with, I guess, the armor upgrades on these units, he was able to trade evenly, Solar that is. And so it's SOS in a scary position because he doesn't have multiple Robos yet. 2nd Robo just finished, so he can start 2 Immortals. And he lost his Phoenixes too, so the threat of a Mutalisk switch is always going to be in the back of his mind.
Yeah. Finally, we see Storm there on the production tab. That's going to be huge against the gigantic number of Lings and even Banes that Solar is using. Not really sure about the Banelings, to be honest, in the unit comp this late in the game.
It's weird.
You know, there are a lot of Zealots. I guess that is the one big thing. You get a clump of Zealots and a couple of Baneling hits to hit those. It can be pretty deadly, I guess.
You know, Immortals, if Ultras get on top of them, they don't do that well because they get wiped so fast. All that splash damage on those Tusks. But if you kill the Zealots, then you can get on top of those and the Archons as well. Maybe that's the idea. Kill the blocking units, kill those Zealots, and then get in on top. Because, I mean, Zealots obviously don't last that long at Ultras, but sometimes they last long enough so the Archons and the Immortals at the back can finish them off. We'll see again. I mean, this is just game number 1, and we don't know exactly how Solar wants to play this late game. We haven't seen him add any more Banelings. He's out of gas. He's spending all of his gas on Ultras, so I don't think he's planning on making any more.
Well, it's really all about Ultras at this point. It's the main bulk of his army. He's got a lot of Lings, 5 Banelings, but he's going to go up to 10 Ultras. And it looks like SOS has spotted that he's used the remnants of his Phoenixes to just continuously fly over the army comp of Solar, and he's just making the perfect counter for it. He's got 6 Immortals out already. He's got 2 Robo facilities. He's going to be making 2 at a time. By the time Solar attacks, he could have 8 Immortals. It's going to be rough for him to deal with, especially now that Storm is even finished.
Yep. Okay, let's see. Here we go. The Lings need to get good targets here. Zealots at the front of the block. We see some feedbacks go down. Fungal and Blinding Cloud on all these units. And that is going to force a recall. And this base Well, which is where he recalls too. I mean, he's a little bit in a safer place with that recall, but it looks like this base is going to take a lot of damage. All these Protoss units unable to really fight. The Archon's not able to fully fight either because they're caught behind each other. That one Archon at the back almost dead, in fact.
Whoa.
And that Blinding Cloud and that Fungal, that's all you need. And wow.
That was really insane of a fight, actually. All of the Immortals were all clumped up, and they all got fungled in Blinding Cloud. They took so much damage. They weren't able to fire even. It was just insanity. And that was such an awesome fight from Solar. I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
Really surprised me there. I was not expecting that kind of fight, to be honest.
What would really impress me the most, and if anything else, is if he had a Greater Spire right now, and he was like, all right, it's time to switch. I have
all
total
right, it's time to win the game.
Yeah.
He may still just be able to go for a counterattack. I mean, he's got 11 Ultras that still have not been dealt with, and looks like Void Rays are going to be the answer, it seems.
10 more Banes. Banes are really good at one thing in this matchup, and that's blowing up buildings that might be in his way. Walls, pylon walls, gateways, so his Ultras can get on top of the meat of the army. We've seen players, you know, just get hard countered when they max an Ultras. They keep making Ultras, and they run into walls, they run into Immortals, and they end up dying. The Void Rays as well. But, I mean, he's just got so many, like you said, it almost feels like it doesn't matter.
13 Ultralists on the map right now. Look at the army of the Protoss.
Look at that. So much splash damage. It's like every splash damage imaginable. He just needs a fungal growth to seal the deal. And that's actually, looks like going to be game. I don't see him recovering. We got 4 Ultralists and a base. GG.
GG. Solar wins game number 1 against SOS. What am I watching?
Baneling Ultra Infester.
Wow.
We saw that. That was on TV. This was real.
I hope Moonlight's watching, to be honest. I want him to see that game.
The Banelings didn't have an insanely specific role in that game. I mean, they did, except the fact that they were rolling.
Oh, God.
But like, you know, they were part of the composition. They did a lot of splash damage. In the late game, you can't force field out Banelings if you've got Ultralists in your comp. Ultralists to smash the force field. And they have the same upgrades as an Ultralist, so they're going to be able to do that extra damage. I think the key here, though, is that first fight, it looked like SOS was going to win it, and he definitely thought he was too because he stayed, and it was too efficient of a trade. Solar had 2 extra bases, and from there things started to snowball.